We'll show you some very important roulette statistics that will help you understand what results you can expect from the wheel and develop your own strategies that take advantage of these stats.
As you know, there's 37 numbers on a European roulette wheel. And so the statistics for a single number to hit in one spin is 2.7%. Okay, that would be if you're betting one number. Okay, so you want to say, well, what's the probability for this number to hit in a single spin? And it is 2.7%. Now, the way you determine that is it's just simple math. I mean, you take the total numbers that you're betting, divide by 37, and that's the statistical probability per spin of getting that number to hit. If we are going to be betting an even chance, okay, as you know, that's 18 numbers. So, you know, right here, there's 18 numbers in low. And, you know, you just take, again, that's total of 18 numbers. This is for groups. You take 18 divided by 37, basic probability per spin, 48.6%. It's just, you know, calculate it out, 18 divided by 37. You can do that with any group of numbers that you have. That's your basic probability. And then we have expectation, okay? And that's based around the fact that each number will hit once in 37 spins. Okay, that's the expectation that we have. The way to calculate that with groups of numbers is to basically, you want to find out how many spins it would be for the group to hit. So if we're bidding a double street, okay, then we want to know how many spins is it expected to before we get a hit. Now, on average, how many spins will it be? And you basically then just divide the total. You take 37 and you divide it by the total numbers that are being bet. In this case, double street has 6 numbers, so you take 37 divided by 6, and that's we're expected to get one hit in every 6.167 spins. Okay, so that's the expectation for a double street. On a quad, it's the same thing, 37. A quad is basically 4 numbers. So you just take 37 divided by 4, and we expect one hit in every 9.25 spins. Okay, so that's probability and expectation. Okay. There is a more advanced topic, which is cumulative probability. We're not going to cover it on this video. I can cover it more in another video. But basically, that 2.7% chance on one spin becomes greater on a second spin, and then on a third spin, and on a fourth spin. And there's a way of calculating cumulative probability, which is something you should definitely look into. You know, that is a huge statistical method that you need to be aware of. Okay, and you know, it's just so you can see how it's spelled. Let me just write it here. Okay, that right there. You need to look that up, and you need to understand how to calculate cumulative probability. Okay. And I'll just give you one example of cumulative probability, so you understand. As you know, we have a 48.6% chance of getting a hit on low in one spin. Okay, but if we spin 4 times, it then becomes something like that. It becomes 93%. Okay, because we've spun 4 times. Okay, that's cumulative probability. No longer is the series governed by just 48.6%. It's not just 48.6%, because obviously every spin is 48.6%. But when you look at a series of numbers, okay, when you have 4 spins and you're examining the series, okay, the cumulative probability is now 93.1 or 01%, something like that. Okay, and it's important to be able to calculate that. Okay, and it becomes very complex, which is why I'm not covering it any further on this video. Okay, but understand that many people who criticize Roulette, they do not want to talk about cumulative probability. It's not something that they're interested in, you know, and it's very important to understand it, explore it. Make sure that if you're studying Roulette, that you understand what cumulative probability is, and that you study it and understand how, and when you do study it, understand how you get from 48.6% for a single spin to 93.01% for a series of 4 spins. Okay, and then you can go further, with it. But I'm going to leave off of it because it's an advanced topic and no space on this video for it. Okay, so we've covered probability and expectation. Okay, now any statistical studies or discussions would not be complete without the law of the third. The law of the third is extremely important. You take any group of 37 spins that you spin the wheel 37 times, which I'm not going to do on this video, okay? But you take any series of 37 spins, and you're going to find, on average, about 12 or 13 numbers that are going to hit more than once in those 37 spins, okay? Okay, so then you're also going to find, when you look at the series, you're going to find 12 or 13 numbers that hit one time. Okay? And then you're finally going to find 12 or 13 numbers that simply do not appear in that sequence of 37 spins. Now, it gets very complex, but the reason why we see the law of the third is because we have a massive number, the probability of, in 37 spins, seeing every number appear once is so massively improbable that it's just not seen. Okay, and what you see over and over is this pattern. It's some derivation of this pattern. Okay, so we can rely upon some derivation of this pattern. There's going to be something very similar to this that will occur in a series of 37 spins. Okay, now when most, and I have to cover this, when most people look at the law of the third, they think, okay, so 37 spins is the first series to look at, and then we look at 74 spins, which is 37 times 2. And then we look at 111 spins, which is 37 times 3. So every section of 37 spins is to be looked at as far as the law of the third. And that can be very helpful. There are people that have devised systems based on that analysis. And it's an analysis that should be done. You should be looking into these things and looking for patterns and looking for behaviors and looking for things that can help us. And there are people that have designed systems around that sort of analysis. But I have something to say about that, and that is that after the 37th spin, okay, okay, each spin is a new session, and I'll get into it, okay, a little bit below. So there is another way of looking at this that you should be aware of, okay? And let's just take a look at what we've learned so far and make some observations, okay? The repeat category, okay, you're gonna see that it is hitting greater than probability and expectation. It's hitting more than what is statistically probable. It's getting more hits than what is expected, okay? And that translates to money, okay? If you are betting numbers that are in this repeat category, you will make money, okay? It's just a fact, okay? And conversely, the not appear category, okay, is occurring less than probability and expectation. Now, if you're bidding numbers that are in this category, the not appear category, you will lose money, okay? And that's the cause of making and losing money, is these categories, okay? Now if you take 37 spins, you're going to see this pattern, okay? But think for a second. On the 38th spin, you now have one complete 37 spin session where this pattern appears. But then, and that is spin. I'm just going to put here spin 1 to 37. Okay, but then you have your next spin, and then you can look at another set of numbers. Okay, from spin 2 to 38 is also 37 spins. You see? And then when you go to the third spin, you have from 3 to 38. Okay, now you have 3 law of the third sessions: 1 to 37, 2 to 38, 3 to 38. Okay, and you go, every single spin is going to represent a new law of the third session. Okay, and then this extends out no matter how far you go. Okay, you go up to 1,000, you go up to 10,000, you go up to 1,000,000, you go up to 10 million. It doesn't matter. You're going to see that there is the pattern of the law of the third is going to apply to the entire session. Okay, because what happens is, and I can't get too deeply into it because it becomes very complex. Okay, but and you have to just kind of try to wrap your mind around what I'm saying. Okay, the same principle that applies to a single session is the same principle that applies to multiple sessions that are strung together. Okay, and it occurs on every spin. So in other words, this pattern has to appear in, no matter where you are in a sequence, in a session, no matter how many spins you have, you're going to see this pattern with you always. Okay, and the same principle, I mean, it's so hard to say, it really is hard to get it out, but there will be, no matter how long the session length, there are going to be numbers that are going to be in this top 12 category for the entire session that are it's going to persist. In other words, it has to. The entire session length has to model this with particular numbers. So if you have 1,000 spins, you're going to find that there's going to be 12 to 13 that have far exceeded expectation and are dominating amongst all the other numbers. Okay, so that's the concept. I'll let you work on that mentally. It's not easy to comprehend, but the more you think about it, I'm just telling you it's true, and that you will observe it. If you observe law of the third sessions, you observe your sessions, you're going to find this phenomenon, that the entire session length is going to model this pattern. Okay, you just count the number of hits of each number, and you'll see it. Okay, here's some of the things that when you do observe these numbers, okay, here are some of the things you're going to see. You're going to find over the entire session length approximately 24 numbers that will tend to exceed probability and expectation from time to time. You're going to have 12 numbers that are relied upon, and then some of them are going to drop off, and then some of these other 24 are going to bring up, while others continue. Okay, and then of those 24 numbers, okay, you're going to see 12 of them that are currently the strongest. Okay, and then when you take those 12 strongest numbers, you're going to find 6 that are the most strong. Okay, and as you winnow this down, you're going to see more consistency over time. And then there's always going to be a single number that's the strongest. That is always a feature of the law of the third. You're going to find one selection that is the strongest. It's going to be chosen as the strongest. It has to occur. It has to be there, and you will find it. And then there's always going to be a closest competitor to that strongest number. And this is regardless of session length. It's a very deep concept that I'm telling you about. Okay, and you have to study it to really wrap your mind around it. But it is something that has to occur. Okay, the law of the third has to occur in this way. Okay, and then finally, you're going to also find approximately 12 numbers that are usually going to be the worst than probability and expectation, and those are the numbers that destroy us. Okay, being on any of those numbers is the major cause of long losing streaks and loss of money. Okay? And again, this is regardless of session length. Okay, there has to be, no matter what the session length is, there has to be 12 numbers that are going to fit this category. Okay, what applies here applies to any session length. And okay, now that you have a basic understanding of number performance and how to analyze that by counting the number of hits versus expectation, okay, you're going to find these numbers, these categories. You'll be able to identify every number and identify what category it's in, okay, just by counting the number of hits over the entire session. Okay, you can do this with also groups of numbers. Like, you can do it with a double street, and you can analyze all the double streets. Okay, and so instead of groupings of single numbers, like a single number, and comparing them, you can actually take these double streets, these 6 double streets, or there's 11 of them. If you actually look here, you can actually see 11 of them that are unique. Okay, these will also have the law of the third characteristics. Okay, which means there's going to be one of these double streets that is going to be the strongest. Okay, and it's going to have a closest competitor. Okay, and it's going to persist over long periods of time like this, where you have your top selection, the closest competitor, and it can go and go and go like that. And you have to study the behavior, but you just basically count the number of hits for the double street of each double street, and you're going to find these categories in that grouping. Okay, the law of the third applies to groups of numbers as well. And then what you do is you analyze the performance of, like, if this is the top right here, if this is the top performer, you analyze the performance of the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, the number 4, the number 5, and number 6. And you'll find that you're going to have very strong numbers, like 2 or 3 of them are going to be extremely strong. You're going to notice characteristics where certain numbers are just very strong, and then you're gonna typically it's going to be a mix. There's going to be a couple numbers maybe that are weak, but the only way that this double street can have the highest number of hits and be the strongest is if it's got some strong performers within it, typically 3 or 4 strong performers, and then it'll have maybe a couple of weak ones that come in and provide support, it's the combination of all of these numbers working synergistically that makes this the top selection. And this is where you can see patterns and behaviors and things like that. And it's just basically you basically study that and keep in mind that when you have groups of numbers, just remember it's very important to analyze then the performance of each individual number within that. And you will always be able to determine, but by looking at the total number of hits versus expectation, you will always be able to determine what category the number is in. Okay. And you can then have an analysis of your group, and then you can analyze other groups. Okay, and so again, common behaviors and configurations. You will observe these things, and this is just a basic video, so I can't get into like massive details or strategies and things. But this is the basic approach that you use to start to understand about how roulette functions. And again, because the principle is if you are betting numbers that are in the repeat category, you are going to make money. Okay, and if you avoid these numbers, these selections, you will make money. Okay, you're at least going to be very close to profit, if not profitable, in these two categories. But you got to stay away from this group. And again, it's very complicated to make an approach that way, and I can't get into the details. And the greatest problem that we're going to have is what's called correction, where you're going to have this double street. It can go for thousands of spins and be the number one top performer and just make money. But eventually, it's going to what's called correct. Okay, it has to. It just will eventually correct. And in that correction time, that means that you'll notice that all of these numbers will fall asleep in a short period of time. So it'll become a short term, like 37 spins or 74 spins, like somewhere in there, of where the numbers like fall asleep and you get very few hits. Okay, that's a correction. Okay, now correction behavior can be studied. Okay, and that's that if you understand correction behavior, you have beaten roulette. Okay, and again, getting into all those details and creating approaches and things like that is an advanced topic. So we've covered the basics. This is what you need to understand to start making a successful system. And so, the more you study it, the better you'll be at it. And I appreciate your patience. I worked as hard as I could to get this out, and I appreciate your time and patience, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to watch our other videos with very smart and effective roulette strategies. And check the video description for our practical roulette strategy tools and testers. Remember, roulette is a risky business. Always play responsibly and with money you can afford to lose.